Here at the Carlo Park, it just makes me feel so, so bloody good, and I'm so glad that I'm a coach and that I got into it right back in 1973. The year gets put into perspective when you come down here, you're mixing with kids. They couldn't care less about what's going on at Manly. They're only interested in enjoying themselves, and that's how it should be. And they've made me feel real good.
Let's hear you one more time.
They say it's all about state against state, mate against mate. The State of Origin series is one of Australia's greatest sporting occasions. It's a fiercely patriotic event where the best league players in the country represent their home state. It's an all-Australian affair. That is until Queensland chose Graham Lowe as their coach.
It was a big controversial appointment because, and rightly so, especially for people in Queensland, because they love the State of Origin team. It was Queensland's inception, the State of Origin, well, the whole concept. And they're very, very proud of the State of Origin team. And Arthur Beetson, who is, he's my favourite all-time player, and he's a living legend as far as I'm concerned. He was the current coach, and he'd led the team to the first initial victory, and he is State of Origin. And for Arthur to be replaced by a New Zealander was probably a little difficult for most people to understand and to accept.
I've nothing against Graham Lowe. He's a good coach. He's certainly a good bloke and that, but I suppose really where the bottom line is he's not a Queenslander, so, but that's their privilege.
I won't go to the game Wednesday night. I'll be here to watch it because Arthur Beetson's not coaching them.
It's the same if a Chinaman went over and run the All Blacks.
As game one of the three-match series got underway, it was also difficult to accept that Queensland could beat a star-studded New South Wales lineup.
While we were aware that we certainly didn't have the individual brilliance right across the board that New South Wales believed they had, and everybody saw that they had, I felt that that we could beat them in other ways. While we may not have the individuals, we had to try and work and come up with a better team. Our individuals, their bag of tricks was certainly smaller than New South Wales, but the thing is it had a zip in it, and if we yanked hard enough, we might be able to open it up wider than what the Joe public thought.
Graham put the emphasis on doing the little things right, on pressuring New South Wales with tough defence and isolating the runners who would be supporting that individual flair of the Manly maestro, Cliff Lyons.
Little tip kick, the big chase is plenty of pressure.
They really had an opportunity there, New South Wales.
The players aren't dumb. They know, they can read the papers. They know that in some cases they're up against, possibly the best bloke in the world in that particular position. But the thing is, you should never be scared of anything like that. And if you approach it properly, if you approach it in a positive manner, and with confidence, you can win. That's a game is not about individual versus individual. It's about teamwork.
An injury to Gary Belcher gave a chance to the Broncos fullback Paul Hoff, a newcomer who needed some low motivation.
Hoff comes at him. Good cover by Hoff.
Paul Hoff was a newcomer into the team and also a newcomer to that level of football. The first couple of days of training, I called him aside at every opportunity I got, and just tried to, firstly, the most important thing was to let him know that he was really wanted in the team. The main thing with Paul was he's such a reserve sort of a fellow. He plays the game a little bit too much for his support rather than taking the initiative and going on his own. And I think once we'd convinced him to do that, he was one of the sensations of the series.
Elias, short ball for Gaia, gets a good pass away. Ettinghausen, he's over the 22, uses the kick, and again Paul Hoff rises to the occasion. Enormous pressure for the young fullback from Queensland. Willie Kahn Rousing tackle there by Ian Roberts. Lewis now has her around the bootlaces.
They were just firing their big guns at us one after another, and I think not only to our surprise but to their surprise they got no return. We had a call that I initially named tempo, and the call tempo meant that if I sent the message out tempo, doesn't matter how tired anyone was, doesn't matter what, they had to trust me and respond to it, and they just had to lift their tempo no matter what. The tempo had to be lifted. Well, we worked on that all week, and just before we left the dressing room I went outside and let Wally have a couple of words to the team on his own, and I since found out that Wally actually said, forget that word tempo, it's Queensland, and our call then was Queensland.
Jackson, dummy half, looks to kick.
Whenever we applied Queensland, the pressure took its toll on New South Wales, and somehow, I don't know, we found our second win.
Steve Jackson, he puts his toe to it. Come down pretty hard, Joe, and there's the element.
There we see Graham Lowe in the stand. He probably looks more nervous than anyone talking to Tosser Turner, the manager there, or listening to Tosser Turner. He'd be pretty happy to see this go over from the boot of Mal Meninga.
My Otahu College logic puts a second win down to a reward. You can never get a second win unless you've absolutely applied yourself in every way possible. And then, I don't know if it's the bloke upstairs or whoever, but for some reason and somehow, you get a lift and you kick on again. And that's what happened to us.
Yes, he does. He's bending over in some pain. Here's Lewis now. Lewis has got some support. Lewis holds it up. Mal Meninga. Can he get there, big
Can he get there? Fair dinkum. How would you like to be the one trying to stop him? I was just grateful he was on my side for a change. That Lewis-Meninga combination is one of the most formidable ever in rugby league. And gee, it was a privilege to coach them, even if it was only for 3 weeks.
Rampant over the Maroons. Oh, listen to the crowd. Don't they love those two? Lewis and Meninga, the nemesis.
By this time, the tension was almost too much. I couldn't sit in the stand any longer amongst those screaming fans. I just had to get down and be closer to the action. I decided to go down to the sideline and try and act super cool. Mind you, Tim Sheens wasn't having it too easy either.
Queensland now, holding on. Elias to the right for Stewart, onto Alexander, floats it to Daly. Daly's kicks a grubber, and a beauty.
The try that Daly got was a brilliant individual try and very hard to guard against. You put it down to one thing, individual brilliance. Individual brilliance is just something that some players are blessed with, and when they turn it on, it's very difficult to guard against.
Connor probably hasn't kicked a great deal this season, won't have a greater pressure kick for many a day than this one.
Michael O'Connor then had the chance to ruin the night for us. There was a lot of pressure on him, and I was thinking to myself, Michael O'Connor, if you kick this goal, fair dinkum, mate.
I've seen you miss easier ones from Manly. You better not do it.
20 metres out. No, he hasn't given it enough.
Thankfully he didn't.
New South Wales 4.
But the match wasn't over. There was further drama to come.
Meninga kicks off the very last passage of play. The siren sounds. The origin, the first for the new series. A penalty has been given at the halfway.
Well, when I realised that Mel had kicked the ball dead, the referee had awarded a penalty to New South Wales, and I was out on the field. I'd run out there, and I was just so embarrassed. Being a professional coach, you're supposed to be able to remain cool under pressure, but I was everything but cool, and I looked around and I just felt like everyone in the stadium was looking at me because I made a spectacle of myself. And you know, by the time they got me back over to the sideline, I just couldn't bear to watch the last kick, and I think it was Alexander, lined up to try and kick it from halfway after the full-time hooter had gone. The relief when it didn't go over, and I think Wally or somebody just caught it and ran it up and took the tackle, and the game was all over. I think it was probably It's one of the best feelings that I've ever had. It was just absolutely unbelievable. The feeling was just absolutely unbelievable. It was amazing because so many things flashed back through my mind. That first game, I nearly wasn't involved because I can remember back to February when I was laying in the hospital bed, and the management from Queensland came down to see me, and they said, "Listen, Graham, there's no pressure on you to remain as coach, or it's totally up to you." And the specialist had actually said to me they wanted me to take 6 months off work, but I decided to keep going and you know, to be involved with the State of Origin. Well, I'm just so glad that I did, because nothing would ever be able to replace the feeling that I got and the kick that I got out of that involvement, especially that first game.